Hello everyone, CMeeCraft here, and welcome to the stream. Am I early? Yes. Am I late? Also yes. Funny how that works. Anyways, we're here for some Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. My apologies for the lateness. I had some stuff I had to get set up for the main channel. But we're here now. We're ready. We're gonna solve a murder. As I recall, I believe because we're like halfway through the case right now, I believe where we last left off, we'd basically already proven our client's innocence, I feel like, but apparently not. Anyways, though, before we get into that, we do have some other important things to attend to. So, yeah, let's get to camera mode. Alright. Hello. I've got this here. Why do I have a tripod next to me? Well, for one very simple reason, because today I'm joined by a very special guest. The one and only. Evil Key. That's right, they're real now. There you go. Buy yours at the link to— oh no, the Evil Key! Anyways, yes, there's now an Evil Key plush available for purchase, available to order. If you like the Evil Key, or if you dislike it and want to just have it. And you got on this so much easier before, Evil Key. Maybe like here. There. Okay, if we don't touch him, he'll be fine. He's slightly out of frame though. Here, let me help with that. Perfect. Okay, anyways, yeah, so he's streaming with me today, Evil Key. We also, in celebration of the Evil Key campaign, any Twitch subscribers, you'll notice we have a new emote, which is, we just put that in chat, the Evil Key plush emote. New emote just dropped, Evil Key plush emote. You'll love to see it. So, yeah. So have fun with that, subscribers. That's a tier 1 emote right there. Have fun with that. And I suppose, as we got the Evil Key up, I'll give you guys a link to purchase it if you feel so inclined. Where is my link? Here it is. There we go. Let me use my emote in that, of course. There we go, and I'll pin that. Perfect. Alright, anyways, yeah, so we've got Evil Key with us. You want your own, you can buy it. It's a product. It's a thing you can buy. It's really cool. But anyways, let's get into murder, mystery solving. That's what we're here to do, isn't it? Generally speaking. All right. We will be loading. And before we get into this, let me just check my audio levels. I wasn't able to do it prior to the stream. Seems good to me. I might turn the game down just a touch. Did the Evil Key just fall? There we go. That should have to be fine. Evil Key! You gotta stay up, man. There we go. Probably uncomfortable being right next to me after we've been enemies for so long. Alright, The Walking Dead, yes. Here we go. Tyrion, what are we doing here? I'm not sure. For some reason, you felt drawn to this place. Wait, is that Eris? Celeste points further into the cemetery. There, you see Eris standing in front of a gravestone. She's placing flowers on it and appears to be chanting a short prayer. Well, we found her. We should probably talk to her later. It would be rude to disturb her now. As you're about to leave, Eris suddenly turns to face you. She's far away, but you can see her beckoning you over. I guess I could pin that on YouTube as well. Okay, there we go. Moving on. She's far away, but you can see her beckoning you over. Oh, hello there. Were you two looking for me? Sorta. Well, not really, I don't think. Sorry, we were looking for you. But we understand if you'd rather talk later. No, I was just finishing up here. Did you have something you wanted to talk to me about? Well, we wanted to ask you some questions about the case. Oh. Yes, what do you know about the trial? That was my first time watching a court trial. You were truly remarkable. Thank you. Were you in the gallery? I've always enjoyed watching physical battles in the theater. But I see now that battles of wits can be just as entertaining to watch. Entertaining? Yeah, I know what you mean. You see the odds are stacked against him, but then he suddenly pulls out this crazy deduction and steers the trial in his favor. I've never really thought of it like that. But I'm sure it's far more entertaining to the one making the deductions. It's pretty fun. I'm not really sure what you mean. I practice law so that I can help those persecuted by the justice system. I don't really do it to entertain myself. Very sort of meta commentary here. She's very meta, as I recall. But is that really true? Don't you find the experience even the least bit entertaining, Tyrion? I didn't really put it that way. I think it's my vocation. I like and appreciate what I do, but you're far too modest. You save people from the clutches of death. To your clients, you might as well be a knight in shining armor. That's one way of looking at it. So do you know about illusion magic? Something tells me you're quite well versed. Earlier you said that you were studying illusion magic. I am. Did you want to ask me about the prosecution's theory? Yes, actually. How did you know? It was easy to guess after seeing you in the courthouse. Anyways, disguising an undead with an illusion is definitely possible. And as Lady Stillwind said, illusory disguise would be the best spell to use for that. What if someone created a freestanding illusion? A freestanding illusion? Yeah, we know that Wallace didn't damnate and disguise a professor's corpse. So what if the illusion wasn't disguising anything? Maybe someone created a freestanding illusion of Bellwether walking around. For something like that, one would probably use major illusion. A major illusion has been added to your notes. Creates a three-dimensional illusion. The illusion can take the form of any object or creature that can be contained in a 10-foot cube. While concentrating, the caster can animate and move the image to a different location within range. The illusion is purely visual and can't be physically touched. Interesting. So, do you think major illusion is a viable explanation for what occurred here? What is it? I don't think major illusion is what we're looking for. Do you remember what Jan said? It's cleaning a mess in the hallways. They're not going to erase and they're shining the dirt everywhere. If the Bellwether that Jan saw was a major illusion, then she couldn't have knocked over that vase. Illusions created by that spell don't have any mass. I see how perceptive of you. Unless the vase was an illusion as well. Are there any other illusion spells that do have mass? No. Illusions can only recreate visual and auditory sensations. But there isn't a single illusion spell that someone can touch. So that means that someone disguised something to make it look like Bellwether. Red look of suspicion, Celeste. So sorry, I wasn't. Calm down, I'm only joking. I don't blame you for considering every possibility. In fact, I'm flattered you think I'm capable of pulling off such an elaborate ruse. Anyways, this does tell us one important thing. What's that? The Bellwether that Jan saw had a physical mass to it. It wasn't a freestanding illusion, it was someone or something disguised as Bellwether. Jan's statement. 30 minutes before the Honest twins found the body, Bellwether walked past Jan in the West Wing hallway. He was in her path, so she shoved him out of her way. After that, she knocked over a vase and shattered it. Even though Jan didn't say anything to her, she yelled at him to be quiet. After this interaction, she walked into Lecture Hall 2B. The Bellwether, witnessed by John Hughes, must have been disguised with an illusion. In addition to that, whoever he saw that day was physically there. Interesting. So what are you doing here? It's quite a shame, isn't it? Eris looks pensively at the gravestone. The name on the stone says Emily Grant, and her lifetime appears to be awfully short. She must have only been 12 years old when she died. Sorry for interrupting you. Was she someone you knew? Not personally. I'm actually here on Wallace's behalf. Wallace knew her? Wallace joined the academy as part of a program run by Headmaster Redmond. At the time, the headmaster was reaching out to mages among the common folk. He had started a program to admit these mages to the academy without having to pay tuition. Both Emily and Wallace were among those mages, Wow, that must have been an amazing opportunity for them. The truth is, neither of them actually cared about learning magic. The real problem was that Emily had a terminal illness. She and Wells were two poor orphans, and they obviously didn't have the resources to treat it. But if they enrolled in the academy would be obligated to give her medical treatments. The Imperial Academy teaches the best mages in the kingdom. They thought that curing her illness would be an easy task for the Academy's healers. But they were mistaken, I'm afraid. I'm sure you know this by now, but healing spells can only treat wounds. They can't cure illness. Emily's condition got worse over the years, and eventually she succumbed to her illness. Wallace was furious. He didn't understand why the kingdom was outlawing magic that could save lives. And that's why he decided to learn it himself. Yes, the headmaster was inspired by Wallace's resolve. He gave him access to the Academy's forbidden tomes of necromancy. And Wallace taught himself the spells that he knows today. So that's why it was supposed to stay a secret between him and the headmaster. But I'm sure you know how that turned out. She's almost too suspicious to be guilty, I think. It's the grave of Emily Grant. It's a shame that she died so young. You briefly say a prayer to Bahamut. It's a grave for an individual that you don't know. It'd be best to leave it undisturbed.
Arcanum.
Didn't expect there to be any magic here. We could ask her at Jan's statements. What do you think of this, Eris?
Really? No. I can't tell you everything you need to get through the case. What would be the fun in that?
Okay. Do you know anything about this? Okay, apparently not. Maybe we should go elsewhere. Oops. Clicked off the game. Go to the foyer. What do you make of this, Celeste? Still a lot we don't know.
Yeah. We know that Wallace didn't kill her, but did the true killer really murder her there?
Right. You'll need to go there to find out more. Where do you think we should go next?
Where should we go next?
That's what I was asking you! Working with a partner can be tough. Hey, no! Okay. Sorry, you had something on your face. Like hair or something. There we go. The prosecution believes that Wallace killed Bellwether in the library. We didn't really investigate that room the first time around. We might be able to find some new leads there. Okay. Sure. Let's go.
Oh, it's you, Mr. Cuthbert.
Stillwind! What are you doing here?
After what happened at the trial yesterday, I decided that it would be best to start my investigation here.
Right. Wallace was in the library for the entire morning. So it would make sense that she'd start her search here.
Actually, since I have you here, have you seen Eris Ilmater anywhere? It's my understanding that you're both acquainted with each other.
Eris? What do you want with her?
It's not for anything serious, mind you. It's just that oaf of a commander lost her spell compendium.
Ah,
Now we need to produce one for our records. If you see her, please let her know that we'd like to speak to her.
We saw her earlier in the cemetery nearby, but I've no idea where she is now.
Once again, I have to compensate for that idiot's mistakes.
Anyways, I was wondering if I could ask you some questions at the case.
Very well, I suppose I still need to honor our deal from earlier.
So what's the prosecution's working theories right now? Any leads? Have you had any luck finding the scene of the crime?
Unfortunately, I haven't. From the witness's testimony, we have a rough idea of the route Bellwether took. But none of the rooms we've checked have any sign of a struggle.
Are you so sure that a struggle happened? Sorry.
I'm mainly basing that off of the Ayana sisters' testimonies.
You mean the proven liars? And you do you, but not exactly what I would use as foundational evidence.
Valerie in particular noticed that the bleeding came from a wound in her stomach. Regrettably, the body's wounds were mended, so we can't determine what kind of weapons the murderer used.
Fair point. Any other witnesses you found out? During the trial, you mentioned that another witness saw Bellwether walking around yesterday. Would you be willing to tell us who that person is?
I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that.
You caught a little off guard. But like, I'm the defense. I need to know the evidence against me. You've been pretty transparent with your investigation so far. What's changed?
I have no obligation to justify myself to you. Nor do I have an obligation to help the opposition.
But exculpatory evidence. If there's evidence, the defense needs to have access to it to build our case. Didn't we have a deal? Hiding information doesn't exactly seem fair to us.
I believe I've given you plenty of information already. So regardless of what I said before, the answer is still no.
Her family is dangerous. The Eye of Horus catches a stray thought from her. Her family is dangerous. What does that mean? Is there something about the witness's family that you're worried about?
No, this could be a feint. I'm sorry, but you'll have to try harder than that if you want to bluff me.
She referred to the witness as her. Furthermore, she said that her family is dangerous. Why would she go to such lengths to hide the witness's identity? In any case, it looks like she's not willing to share more at the moment. Maybe we should try looking somewhere else. Well, first let's examine the area. It's a holy church from, holy text from the Church of Bahamut. I heard some of these with Andrus earlier. I've been meaning to ask, do you guys worship dragons in Wyverngard? Are you not... I've never really been the religious type, but I've seen some devout worshippers in the capital.
It's the most prominent religion here. The scared Lord Rathlalion is said to be the source of all arcane magic. It's no wonder that he's such a large part of the culture.
It's a globe of the world. It's amazing how many other nations there are aside from Wyverngard.
I've been to most of these places. You should come with me next time, Tyrion.
I'm more suited for the battlefield of the law than the battlefield of war.
Isn't traveling through the border heavily restricted? Don't worry, I won't report you.
Oh, hey! Thank you.
Can't exactly blame you for wanting to leave.
Oh yeah. She realizes the system is corrupt and she's trying to fight from within it. least that's the interpretation I like to go with here. What's up here? The library is full of books for educational purposes. Too bad they don't have any fictional books. Were you looking for a novel to read? Yeah, I was hoping they'd have some mystery novels I could read. You like mystery novels? Of course! Why do you think I like this job so much? I've never really been a fan of the mystery genre. What? But your whole career is about solving mysteries. Exactly. You think I want to do that in my downtime too? Exactly. It's exhausting. When I read a novel, I just want to read about simple fantasy stories and classic heroes. Would fantasy be a genre in a fantasy world? I mean, I guess it surely could, right? Because what separates fantasy from like normal fiction, quote unquote? I guess just the fact that it takes place in like a different world for us with different laws and whatnot. And heck, in a fantasy world, a story out our world could be considered fantasy. Maybe sci-fi more so. I don't know. I guess if you lived in a fantasy world, that would be normal. And then any story which took place in a world which was a deviation from that could be considered a fantasy novel. It's interesting, though. Interesting idea. I guess that makes sense. What about you, Steelwind? I don't really have time for such things. Like, everyone's got time for a bit of recreation, no? There are tables for students to sit at while they study. I don't think I could handle studying here day after day. Very well. Seems... Oh, what's this? Due to constant misuse of the Arcane Construct's voice systems, voice lines can now only be set by Headmaster Redmond. Oh, I just found out what's going on! It's an Arcane Construct! Whoever did it used illusion magic to disguise an Arcane Construct as the Headmistress. Or not Headmistress, but the person, the victim in question. Thus making it appear as though the corpse had gotten up to walk around when in reality it was merely an illusion. Wait, hold on. Is that why I can't make the construct say anything? So the headmaster is the only one who can make the construct say anything. I believe is what it said there. The constructs speak using Professor Bellwether's voice. Unfortunately, that was an open invitation to many of the students. A lot of them ordered the constructs to speak several obscenities using her voice. But why is Headmaster Redmond the only person allowed to set the voice lines? There were also rumors that several faculty members partook in these pranks. Right, because she wasn't very popular even among the faculty, I don't believe. I can't blame them for wanting to let off some steam. The question is it the headmaster who did this? Because he's the only one who can set the voice lines, and we know for a fact that the illusion spoke. Or could it be the case that someone else did it and used some sort of auditory illusion so as to put it on the headmaster if it came to that? Let's detect some magic. Okay, there's no magic here. Is there anything I want to present to her? John's statements. Yeah, what do you make of this? I imagine this is pretty important to the case. What do you think about this, Miss Steelwind? I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I can't say much about that. Anything else you'd want to present to her? Okay, well, anyways. I guess we'll move on. Oh, we haven't been able to go to the locker room before. You spend some time wandering through the academy when you overhear a conversation from a nearby room.
From what I understand, Miss Steelwind has already moved the investigation elsewhere. How long must I wait before I can retrieve my things?
Sorry, old-timer. Orders are orders. Nothing comes in or out till this case is over and done with. Commander White, and the headmaster, too.
Oh, hello, Mr. Cuthbert.
Hey, kid.
In any case, there are other matters I must attend to. Please inform me when I can reclaim my things.
Sure. Looks like Commander White is standing guard in front of this locker room. And it doesn't look like he's conducting any sort of investigation. Is he here on Steelwind's orders? He might be able to tell you who the secret witness is. Hello, sir? What's going on here? What is the headmaster talking to you about? Supposedly he has some items stored in one of the faculty lockers. Problem is, Steelwind said no one gets in or out of this room. Expect her for her and you two, apparently. Don't even let the other knights in here. Really? Is that normal? Nope, but things really are when she's calling the shots. Why would she give you access to the crime scene if she wasn't even letting the knights in? Okay, with the exception of you and Celeste McCoy, Prosecutor Steelwind isn't allowing anyone inside key areas of the Academy. She isn't even allowing the Knights of the Inquisition within these areas. She is conducting the investigation single-handedly. I know what her deal is, but she's been acting strange lately. She's been real paranoid, that girl. Frankly, I can't tell what's going through her head. When you're dealing with illusionists, you can't trust anything. You mentioned that the prosecutor has been paranoid lately. Do you think it has something to do with this case? No, I started way before that. Lately, she's been using the Inquisition to investigate a lot of non-magical homicide. What? Would it be easier to work with the relevant law enforcement for that? I don't know why, but she's convinced that these cases might have magic involved. We scanned each and every one of those crime scenes, nothing turned up. Gotta say though, if it weren't for the scans, I might have actually agreed with her. How so? Why do you say that? Those homicides, I haven't seen anything like them. Probably some of the most screwed up cases I've ever handled. For one of those cases, we had ourselves a disgruntled spouse. She found out that a man was going around with the barkeep. Never a good sign. You know what the spouse does? She stalks the poor woman. She starts leaving threatening notes all around where she worked. Barkeep told the city watch all about what was happening. But no matter how much they staked out the tavern, they could never catch the pep. Then one day the barkeep arrived home. Little did she know, the spouse was waiting there for her. Poor lady never had a chance. And to tie the whole thing together, the spouse waits for her husband to get home. She cooks him a big roast using the barkeep's remains. Ooh, ew. That's nightmarish, I have to say. Okay, so, a possible explanation, yeah. Wow, that story's pretty... I know. Still, one thinks someone's developed a new type of magic that can control people's minds. And these homicides were some kind of sick test run. Magic that can control people's minds? Wouldn't Mage Blight make more sense? Mage Blight? When whoever uses their magic, it can have pretty bad consequences on their mind. They temporarily lose the grip of reality and begin seeing things that aren't there. When age becomes like that, it almost never ends well. Enter a frenzy and begin firing spells randomly, which only makes it worse. I've seen my fair share of mage blight cases, and this isn't like it. Not all the perps were mages, and the ones that were didn't even use the magic. One thing that was that each of the perps almost seemed to wake up after we arrested them. All of them said things like it wasn't me, or I didn't have a choice. They didn't have a choice? What could that mean? That means anything. Sometimes people can't face the things they've done. It's easier to say that you have no control than to take responsibility. I can see that. What of the secret witness? You wonder if you can mislead the commander into revealing who the secret witness is. During the trial, Miss Steele mentioned that someone other than John Hughes saw Belle while they're walking around. Have you seen them around lately? We wanted to speak with them. Ha! Nice draw, kid. Well, it was worth a shot. Also, I couldn't tell you if I wanted to. Don't think anyone other than Steele knows who this witness is. I sure as hell don't. What? She's even hiding it from the Inquisition commander? Why is she being so secretive? Well, I suppose if the theory of the case is that there's someone out there who can control people's minds and make them do heinous things, you want to lie alone. You don't want to draw suspicion to yourself as potential threats. Yeah, sounds about right. Looks like the commander doesn't know who this secret witness is either. This isn't getting us anywhere. Steelan's behavior is strange, though. Perhaps you could try analyzing her behavior. If you do that, you might be able to find a way to convince her to help you. Okay, Steelan's behavior has been strange this time around. She's hiding elements of the case, even from the commander. Anyone can tell that she doesn't have much faith in him. I'm standing right here! But this is the first time I've seen her hide key details of a case from him. What is motivating Steelan to keep secrets? There has to be a reason why she's being so secretive. Paranoia, arrogance, or logic? I'd say it's probably logic. She's a logical girl. No, the academy is a large building. No matter how competent she is, she can't possibly carry out a search of this scale by herself. From a logical standpoint, it would make more sense for her to utilize the entirety of the Inquisition. I mean, paranoia? Her actions must be driven by paranoia. Well, okay. Paranoia can be logical. Right? Right? You're not are you paranoid if someone's actually out to get you? In that case, I'd say you just have a logical fear of, people working against you. She's been hoarding information about the case. There's only one reason why she wouldn't utilize the Inquisition like she usually does. It's because she doesn't trust them. I'd decide, but that doesn't really surprise me. She's always been standoffish with us. But there is one exception. Who has Steelman trusted for this case? There are individuals who she's trusted more than the Inquisition during this case. Commander White, Wallace, the Headmaster, Tyrion and Celeste. And it's us, right? She let us investigate the crime scene without any restrictions. Yeah, I never really thought about that. Does she trust us that much? I don't think personal trust is the reason. Why does Steelan trust us this time? We don't usually interact with her. And she's worked with the Inquisition on plenty of cases that we weren't even involved in. Let's see. Tyrion, probably about me. Tyrion isn't an employee of, a member of, capable of. Oh, I'm not capable of using magic. Maybe. Because if she's concerned on mind-altering magic, she knows I can't do it. No, there's a key difference between us and the Inquisition, right? We don't answer to anyone, and we aren't subject to corruption. So why would that make Steelan trust us this time around? Like, hold on. Tyrion isn't controlled by the nobility. The nobility. There we go. Sorry. Wrong conclusion. Steelan doesn't know much about us. But she does know that we aren't prone to noble corruption. Right, you incited a noble. Or indicted a noble during the last case. Meanwhile, the Inquisition usually bends to the nobility's whims. Well, I can't argue with you there. What can you infer about the secret witness? Using my insight, I could tell that she's worried about the witness's family. If she's worried about corruption from the nobility, that can only mean one thing. The witness is a noble. Yeah. The witness has to belong to a noble family. That's why she's so wary of interference. But we're obviously not going to do anything corrupt. Why is she hiding the witness's identity from us? You recall seeing a thought through the eye. So regardless of what I said before, the answer is still no. I think she's worried about our safety. Yeah, I guess harassing a noble could put you in danger. But I'm the protege of the infamous Ruby Tamora. Yeah, it's not as if we aren't already on the nobility's bad side. I'm sure the Pierce family still has it out for us. This can only mean that the family we're dealing with is even more powerful than House Pierce. If the prosecutor is wary of them, they could even be as powerful as the Steelwinds. Wait, you don't tell me we're dealing with one of the Four Pillars.
4 pillars?
It's a name people use for the top 4 noble houses. These families stand at the top of the kingdom's aristocracy. If I recall correctly, the 4 pillars are House Frege, House von Sanctus, House Sibley, and House Steelwind. Steelwind is a part of one of them? Yeah, which makes it so much weirder that she's serving as a prosecutor. The 4 pillar families have been added to your notes. What is it? Selwyn's weird behavior all started with after she investigated this room. We were at the crime scene and she left to follow the lead. But an hour later she came back to the lecture hall and booted everyone out. Her behavior changed after investigating this room. That means she found something here. And that something must point to a family from the 4 pillars. The commander looks a bit anxious. Yeah, it was Steelwind's orders. I say I can't snoop around here. You two, on the other hand. Don't worry, just leave it to us. I have some school records that say which locker belongs to which students. You can use it to tell whose locker you're looking at. Alright, let's examine.
Oh, there's an arcane construct in the back here.
It's right here to aid the students. Anyways, I don't think it's relevant to our investigation. Perhaps you should make a small note of it anyways. Construct in the locker room. There appears to be an inactive arcane construct in the academy locker room. Use the legend that the commander gave you. Look carefully across the list and find some notable student names. Let's look at Wallace Nightgrave. You open Wallace's locker. Inside, you find a bottle of fragrant liquid and something that looks like a makeup kit. Huh, I didn't expect Wallace to do stuff like this. It does seem strange. That's not your place to judge. Anyways, you should try looking through the other lockers. Use the legend that the commander gave you. Look carefully across the list and find some notable student names. Miriam Frege. You open the locker with Miriam Frege's ID number. Inside, you find a stack of worn-out textbooks and notebooks. Wait a minute. These notebooks all have Wallace's name on them. You open the notebook and look through its pages. It appears to be research on the art of necromancy. These are Wallace's notebooks. But why are they in Miriam Frege's locker? Did Miriam steal his things? What's going on here? You and Celeste check the locker more thoroughly. Wait a minute. Tyrion, take a look at this. That's blood. Okay, there's a stain of blood inside the locker with Miriam Frege's ID number. Use the legends to look at the stuff. What about Jaden von Sanctus? You open Jaden von Sanctus's locker. Inside, you find several bottles of some kind of transparent lotion. There's nothing but lotion in here. Oh. I wonder why a student would need this much lotion. You take one of the bottles to inspect it more closely. Wait, Tyrion, don't touch those with your hands! What's wrong? some kind of sanitizing liquid. It's a little strange. It doesn't seem to relate to the case. Use legend that the commander gave you. Okay. That Warren Sybil. You open Warren Sybil's locker. Inside, you find some textbooks and a neatly stacked deck of tarot cards. Oh, it's like those cards that fortune tellers use. Indeed. I wonder if this student studies divination magic. But anyways, I don't think this is related to the case. Use the legend that the commander gave you. Okay, well, that's all that. We found a few things, but I can't really make sense of any of it. We should look at this from the prosecutor's perspective. Steele found something in one of the lockers. Whose locker had the most suspicious evidence? And whatever that was, it made her extremely paranoid. Well, that would be from, Frega's. And how we look at it, we found some insanely suspicious things in Frega's locker. If it had Wallace's notebooks and even some blood. But that blood is certainly strange. It implies that something bloody was stored there. Do you think someone stole it? No, actually. I think it was Steele who took it. Oh, right. Aura mentioned that she investigated this room. She must have taken the bloody item as evidence. But with that said, there's something else that's strange at Miriam Frega's locker. It had a lot of Wallace's possessions. It's possible that she really did steal these items from him. But it's more likely that this locker isn't actually hers. Remember that what Wallace told us before? Sometimes other students would steal the ID number off my locker. And they'd switch it with the number from another locker. Thought it was funny whenever a student who owned that locker got angry with me. So someone switched the nameplates. This means that this isn't Miriam Frega's locker. It's Wallace's. Well, that would mean the bloody object came from Wallace's locker. It appears so. Okay, interesting. But if that's true, why didn't Steele present the bloody item during the trial? I proved that Bellwether was wounded before Valerie healed her. Wouldn't that have been the perfect time to present what she found? It was a bloody item found in the defendant's locker, after all. She could have easily proved that the nameplates were switched, too. Right, that is weird. There's something more to this you aren't seeing. But what? I think we'll just have to ask Steele and ourselves. Indeed. Let's do one more little examining. Okay, never mind. We can't do a traditional one here. Back to the library.
Oh, you're back.
We have uncovered a few things during our investigation. Miss Steeland, are you acquainted with a student named Miriam Frega?
Oh, I underestimated him. As I said before, Mr. Cuthbert, I won't fall for such an obvious bluff.
It's not a bluff, Miss Steeland. I'll prove it using the evidence we've gathered. Our Steeland's psychological profile is complete. Time for an argument. Steeland is paranoid, and for whatever reason, it's due to the involvement of Miriam Frega. If you could convince her to reveal why she's being so secretive, she might give you more information. Let's go. Argument time. You've been behaving strangely, Steelwind. Even the Knights of the Inquisition have noticed. Please just tell me, why are you being so paranoid?
I'm not sure what you're trying to imply, Mr. Cuthbert. Nothing about my behavior has changed. I've approached this case objectively, just like I have with every other case.
Is that so? No, you haven't. You've ordered the Inquisition to not even investigate the case. That's odd. You've ordered the Knights to stay away from the crime scene. And you even taken it upon yourself to conduct the investigation yourself. That is not normal behavior for a prosecutor.
I took those actions because the Inquisition is incompetent. How could I possibly trust them with anything?
The Knights are incompetent, but even you can see the value of delegation. During Celeste's case, you still delegated tasks to the Inquisition, and you could have easily investigated the McCoy Tavern yourself. This academy is huge. You wouldn't conduct your investigation this way unless you had a good reason.
Then why don't you enlighten me? Why would I act in such a way? What would cause me to behave so strangely?
Well, it's either the evidence in the locker. It's probably the Four Pillar families. You know that the Inquisition is corrupt and will bend to the nobility. So what would happen if a powerful noble were publicly involved in this case? With that noble's influence, they'd probably order the Inquisition to conceal their involvement. A high-profile noble is involved in this case, Steelwind. And I believe that noble is Miriam Frege.
Again with this, do you think you can bluff me by throwing out the names of random nobles? Not every noble is a malevolent criminal like Garrick Pias. I've said it before and I'll say it again. My investigation does not involve the Freges. Nothing about this case has anything to do with House Frege.
Really? Well, that's the bloody item in Miss Frege's locker. Then how do you explain this, Steelwind? The commander told us that you were following a lead in the locker room yesterday. We investigated the lockers of students from the Four Pillar families, and we found stains of blood in a locker with Miriam Frege's ID number. It was presumably left by a bloody object. The bloody object was taken by someone, and we heard that you became extremely paranoid after you found something in the locker room. If I had to guess, I'd say that you took the bloody object as evidence.
And what evidence do you have to support these outrageous claims?
What?
The only thing you have as evidence is a bloodstain. There are a myriad of explanations for that. How do you know she was not just on her period or something? Everything else you mentioned is pure speculation. You can't prove that a piece of evidence exists. I could have found any number of things in that room, or possibly nothing at all.
Let's see. You're hiding it. I can appeal. You're hiding evidence, Miss Steelwind. Do you not see how wrong that is? Let's not be coy, Miss Steelwind. Anyone can tell that the bloodstain is the most notable thing in that room. Or if you don't present what you've found to the court, I'll have no choice but to pull the owner of that locker onto the stand. Alright, psychological profile. Steelwind is extremely logical and won't accept arguments that aren't supported by evidence. However, she has become secretive lately, and her actions seem to stem from paranoia. She's uneasy about case elements that relate to Miriam Frege, and she's very inclined to hide Frege's involvement from the court at all costs. Okay, yeah. Yeah, if you won't give me the evidence, I'm gonna have to call a witness to the stand. You found an object in the locker with Miriam Frege's nameplate on it. If you don't present what you found to the court, I'll have no choice but to pull the owner of that locker onto the stand.
That's ridiculous. We both know that the locker in question belongs to Wallace Nightgrave.
Indeed. So why hide it? Surely what you found must have bolstered your case if it was in the defendant's locker, a bloody item. Can you unequivocally prove that, Miss Steelwind? Because the way I see it, there's a lot of room for doubt there. Enough doubt for me to pull Miss Frege onto the witness stand. But if I had more context, maybe I wouldn't have to resort to that. Argument 1.
Well played, Mr. Cuthbert. I suppose I don't have a choice, do I?
You've successfully persuaded Arya Steelwind. Alright, well, let's talk then. What's going on here, Arya?
Just so we're clear, I was not acting to protect the nobility. But I'll admit that Miriam Frege was the other witness that saw Bellwether that day.
I see. I had some suspicions, but...
There's also another matter.
Still looks uneasy.
When I was investigating the body, I found this.
Evidence of academic dishonesty. A tightly packed folder containing several documents. The documents contain evidence detailing multiple instances of plagiarism, fraud, bribery of school officials, and various other offenses committed by Miriam Frege. Wait, when you were investigating the body? What the?
Looks like Miriam's been cheating at school.
But why would Bellwether have something like this?
From the way it's arranged, I think it might have been blackmail. Miriam Frege is considered a prodigy in the practice of conjuration magic. She's won a litany of awards and she will most definitely graduate with honors. If these files were to reach the public, it would absolutely ruin her reputation.
Do you think that the professor was lying to threaten her? Or was trying to threaten her, rather?
It appears so. When I discovered this, several elements of the case were still unknown. I decided to look through her belongings. And I mistakenly looked through her locker, the locker with her ID. I found this in that locker.
Bladed rapier. A rapier covered in blood. It was found in Wallace Nightgrave's locker. Apparently it's a valuable family heirloom to House Frege. It was reported stolen by Miriam Frege weeks before the murder. Interesting. This is...
It's very likely that this is the murder weapon. This rapier is a valuable family heirloom for House Frege. And a few weeks ago, Miriam reported that the rapier was stolen from her room.
And then it was found in Wallace's locker? Not that I'm complaining, but why didn't you present this in court?
To be honest, I'd like to avoid involving House Frege by any means necessary.
I knew it! You're just protecting her, aren't you?
Miss McCord, do you recall how Wyvern Guard's justice system works? To acquit a defendant, you need to unequivocally prove that they didn't commit the crime. To do that, they either need a solid alibi, or we need to prove that someone else committed the crime.
Sorry, I got too involved with the Arya voice. Anyways,
what do you suppose will happen if you bring Mr. Frege onto the stand? House Frege won't allow one of its members to indict it in a court of law. They'll plant and forge evidence to implicate your defendants.
So fair.
And they'll use the Inquisition to do so.
So that's why you've been keeping away from the investigation.
Can't you do anything? The Steel Ones are powerful too, aren't they? I don't have the support of my house. Right now, I'm just a prosecutor, nothing more.
Steel Ones, you know that this isn't fair for us. Just do nothing. Do nothing and let us win. Celeste! If we can't go after Miriam, then you can at least let us help us save Wallace.
I'm not going to do that.
Why? What if Miriam Frege is the real killer? Her sword is the murder weapon, and Bellwether was trying to blackmail her.
I seem to recall another case where an incompetent person's sword was used, or an innocent person's sword was used to frame them.
That's...
As a prosecutor, it's not my place to decide who's guilty and who's not. I won't engage in corruption, even if it is to counter corruption from another noble house. I'm sorry.
Do you know where Miriam is right now?
Didn't you hear what I just said? You can't let her think that there's evidence, even the slightest possibility you'll indict her. She'll bring the entire wrath of House Frege down on you.
Regardless, I can't do anything for Wallace unless I know everything that happened. Frege has the last piece of evidence. I need to put everything together.
But I suppose I don't have much of a choice, do I? Her dormitory is room 107. I imagine that she'll be there, considering that classes are suspended.
Thank you, Steelwind.
If I don't tell you, I'm sure you'll probably just find out using some other means. But please, Mr. Cuthbert, be careful.
Of course, Steelwind. Of course. Alright, well, let's go to room 107. Oh, it's a look in here. You follow Miss Steelman's directions and find Miriam Frege's dorm room. The door leading inside seems a lot more ornately decorated than the other dorms. You go to knock on the door, but you don't realize that it's only partially closed. As your fist comes into contact with the wood, you accidentally push the door wide open.
Excuse me, how dare you barge into my room? These insects have no respect.
So sorry, I meant to knock, but...
Construct, remove these hoodlums from my room.
Acknowledged. From the corner of the room, an arcane construct stands up and starts making its way toward you. Before you can protest, it raises its fist to hit you. Thank you, Celeste. You have only enough time to raise your arms and brace yourself for the impact. Look at her, ready for battle. Sometimes I forget that she's, like, really competent, like, from a martial perspective. You close your eyes and wait for the blow. But instead, you hear the clang of steel against steel. Confused, you open your eyes to see Celeste standing between you and the construct. Her sword is drawn, and she's using it to block the construct's fist. Upon taking a closer look at Celeste, the student stares curiously at her.
Construct, stand down.
Acknowledged.
I'm terribly sorry for that. I wasn't aware that this was your servant.
Celeste looks angry, but puts away her sword without a word.
I haven't noticed you around campus, you new student. If she has a personal attendant, she must be important.
She?
What?
You see an opportunity. Yes, my master just enrolled here recently.
What?
Celeste gives you a puzzled look, but you make a silent gesture back. After a moment, she seems to realize what you're doing.
Yes, I just started here. I take it you're Miriam Frege? Yes, I'm honored that you recognize me.
Miriam Frege, students.
It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Miss... I'm Celeste. Celeste Mick...
She catches herself and pauses for an awkward moment.
McSteelwind. I'm Miss Celeste Steelwind.
Okay. You can't believe her. There's no way she's going to believe.
Steelwind? It's a pleasure to meet another member of such an esteemed house. She must be from a branch family. Maybe I can use her.
Wait, she's actually buying this?
I just moved in and I thought I should introduce myself. Seeing as you're a top student in the field of conjugation.
Conjuration.
Yes.
Well, there's no backing out now. Okay, so, how are you, my lady? Miss Frege, I was wondering if we could ask you some questions about...
Excuse me, I don't believe anyone has permitted you to speak.
Oh, here we go. Celeste is still smiling, but you can faintly hear her grinding her teeth together.
So, you heard about what happened to Professor Bellwether?
Celeste, I just noticed the dialogue box uploaded. Celeste Steelwind. That's great, that's great.
I can't believe it. Yes, it's quite tragic what happened to her. She's always been an acquaintance of House Frege.
She appears to be more receptive to Celeste. It might be better to let her take the lead on the questioning. Alright, Celeste, ask her about the murder.
We heard that you saw her on the day of the murder. Could you tell us more about what happened? Oh, you heard about that from your relative, did you? If you don't mind me asking, why are you so interested? She's just like Arya, is she? Oh, you know, I'm just curious is all. You know how an eventful life can be sometimes. Being a noble and all.
Alright, tone it down.
Oh, was that all? I was worried you were going down the same path as that poor, confused Arya.
What does she mean by that? But I'm in the middle of a study break anyways. Suppose I have some time to sate your curiosity. Construct, please prepare us some tea. Use that lotus tea we imported from the Eastern Kingdoms. She can be useful if I can win her favor. Acknowledged. Lotus tea? You have lotus juice? Tea. Tea, Celeste. You feel like you're slowly losing control of this situation. Can we examine the room real quick? It's an extravagant bed. It looks like Miriam lives pretty well here. It's a dresser. It probably contains Miriam's clothes. It would probably be a bad idea to take a closer look with Miriam here. It's a table for guests, but it doesn't look like it's seen much use until now. Bit of a loner then.
Arcanum.
No magic. Okay. So what did you see?
I heard that you saw the professor on the day of the murder. Where did this happen? I was in the hallways when I saw her coming out of the headmaster's office. She was heading towards the library. Do you remember what time this happened? I'm not really sure, honestly. It's a little embarrassing, but I have such a bad habit of getting too absorbed in my work. Sometimes I'll let entire hours pass without noticing. Do you have a rough idea at least? I think it was in the morning.
She thinks it was in the morning?
But anyways, did anything seem off about her? No, it was a short encounter. I merely greeted her, and she responded in kind. Or at least, that's what should have happened.
That thought just now, what does it mean? You slowly glance at Celeste and catch her attention. In small motions, you shake your head to indicate that Miriam is holding something back.
Were you and the professor really on good terms?
I heard she was pretty mean towards other students.
Towards a riffraff, maybe, but not to students like us. She was a great ally to us Frigga, or at least she used to be. That's why we were planning on appointing her as the new headmaster. Wait, what did you just say?
Replacing the headmaster?
Did you just say that your family's going to appoint Bellwether as the new headmaster? Oh, I'm surprised you didn't know. House of Frigga holds several seats in the Academy's board. We were making plans to have her replace that lout Redmond.
They're going to sack the headmaster.
Did Headmaster Redmond know about this? Oh, of course not. This is part of a large-scale plan. Along with Redmond, we were going to replace all of the staff members with arcane constructs. We had to keep everything under wraps, or else the help would have left prematurely. And where would that leave us?
But Jan supposedly overheard about the talking about the constructs. Did Bellwether prematurely reveal the plan? Or was Jan lying about how he found out?
But alas, with Bellwether gone, we'll have to delay our plans.
The House Frigga was planning to fire Headmaster Theodore Redmond and replace him with Catherine Bellwether. They were also planning to fire all of the Academy staff and replace them with arcane constructs. It was supposed to be a secret, but it was apparently revealed during a meeting a few weeks ago. Interesting. So how are your grades?
I heard that you're one of the Academy's top students. Your grades must be amazing. Of course, as an inheritor of House Frigga, my grades are impeccable. It feels good to have my greatness recognized.
That's strange. You don't see anything contradictory through the eye this time. Interesting. Perhaps the blackmail was a plant. You make a gesture towards Celeste to continue pressing her.
Oh, what kind of magic do you study here? You must be joking. I study magic from the School of Conjuration. Just like most members of my house. School of Conjuration? That's the type of magic that specializes in spatial manipulation and teleportation, right? Yes, I consider myself quite the expert in that field. Why, the Crown Prince himself asked for my assistance in a research study. It's nice to work with someone of my caliber.
Again, you don't see any thoughts that contradict what she's saying. Does that mean she's not lying? If she's smart enough to get the Crown Prince's attention, why would she be cheating? About your rapier. So I heard that Arya took your rapier as evidence for the case. Can you believe her? She still won't give it back to me. My father will have my head if I can't get it back soon. How did she even become part of the investigation anyway? How did it even become part of the investigation anyways? I don't know. Arya won't tell me anything. I swear, if that necromancer was the one who stole it, I'll execute him myself. So someone did steal it from you? Yes, from right out of my room. When did this happen? About a few weeks ago. I noticed when I came back from one of my classes. Someone removed the rapier from its display case in my room. How did they get into your room in the first place? You think someone used magic to teleport past the door? Please, I'm a master of conjuration magic. If someone attempted that, my enchantments would have shunted them out. This means the thief came through one of the doors or windows. I bet it was that necromancer. I'm sure a street child like him just knows how to pick a lock. Celeste, keep it cool. Keep it chill. Okay. Let's talk about Arya. You said something about my wayward relative before. Were you talking about Arya? Oh, I'm terribly sorry if I offended you. But I'm sure it must pain you to see the way that she's been acting lately. Yes, that's been extremely hard. Hang in there, Celeste. Do you know that you even interrogated me about the murder yesterday? Can you believe it? A Steelwind running around a crime scene like a common knight? If I tried something like that, my father would disown me. Does the nobility not approve of Steelwind becoming a prosecutor? I always thought that it was strange. What is motivating her to do this? Honestly, she probably thinks she can do anything just because of her betrothed. Esther deserves better. I wasn't aware she was betrothed. Seth's eyes perk up upon hearing this. You'd be lying if you weren't also curious about who this Esther is. But you shoot her a stern look that tells her to stay focused. You can't risk blowing your cover for some gossip. We can ask Arya later, yeah? Okay. So how's your construct? It seems to be doing good for you. You have an arcane construct in your room. I thought they only had them in the library and the locker room. This construct was a gift from House Von Sanctus. I have to say, they're quite convenient to have around. They look really cool. Maybe I should get one. You should. A contract would be far more useful than this attendant of yours. Unfortunately, there are still some issues with their intelligence. Their intelligence? There are issues when you give them complex commands. It might be easier to show you. Miriam turns to the construct and begins gesturing towards it. Construct, please retrieve my textbooks and bring them here. Then cast Steel and Strike at this location. After that, retrieve some plates and set them out at this table. Acknowledged. What? The construct stands up and retrieves Miriam's textbooks from one of the shelves in the room. It brings them to the table you're sitting at, just like she ordered. But then it suddenly stops moving. Wait, what happened? The construct obviously can't cast Steel and Strike, so my second command was impossible to carry out. But did you notice something else? It ignored your third command too. Correct. My third command was possible to carry out. So why did it ignore that command? Constructs execute a series of commands in the order they are given. But let's say one of those tasks is impossible to complete. When the construct gets to that task, it will deem the entire series impossible to complete. I guess it kind of makes sense. Because a lot of times you'd be then... Because if you base the next command upon the previous command working, right? So let's suppose I have a construct and I say, get a glass of water out of the cupboard, then pour some milk into it, and then bring the milk to the table, right? If say there's no milk in the fridge, and so it can't complete the second task. Then it can't actually then from there bring the cup to the table. Well, it could, but it would be kind of useless because it would be just an empty glass. So yeah, I don't know. Not really sure what should happen in that case, but cutting off the entire sequence, it does not make sense. As a result, it will stop executing the series altogether. So if a task in a series of commands is impossible, then that command will interrupt the sequence of commands? Exactly. Constructs logic limitations has been added to your notes. Okay. Lady Steelland, I'm afraid we must leave now if we want to make our next engagement.
Oh, right. Let's go, servant. Oh, leaving already? It was a pleasure talking to you. Yeah, sure. Have to see you around.
You make your way back to the foyer with Celeste. With all the time you spent, you only have a brief amount of time before night falls.
Are you sure you didn't want to talk to her more? We're getting a lot out of her.
We already got a lot of useful information out of her. The more time we spend with her, the more likely she is to see through our ruse.
Right.
So, why Steelwind?
I don't know, I panicked!
Ari's like the only noble I know. What about Pierce?
I'm not using that creep's name.
Well, hopefully Steelwind doesn't mind us borrowing her name.
I got her statement on what she saw that day.
And there was also what she said about her rapier.
I heard she was lying when she said it was stolen. She's probably trying to establish an alibi.
I'm not so sure.
Why do you say that? Doesn't it feel too obvious?
If she was lying about the rapier being stolen, that would imply that she planned all of this in advance. But if she had to choose a murder weapon, why would she choose something that literally has her name on it? I'd understand if the murder was a spur-of-the-moment decision, she might have just used something nearby in this case. But if this was a premeditated murder committed by Miriam, that rapier would be the last weapon she would choose.
Right, I guess that makes sense.
There's also the evidence of academic dishonesty. It doesn't match up with what we heard from Miriam.
You know that stuff about working with the Crowned Prince?
She's probably just making things up to look good in front of me. I have an insight when it comes to things like this. Under normal circumstances, I can usually tell when someone is lying. And a lie, as grandiose as that, would be something I would definitely see through. People can subconsciously shield themselves from the eye of Horus, even if they don't know about it. But when they do that, you usually can't see any thoughts from them. You also saw that she was lying about her encounter with the Bellwether. You would have seen dissonant thoughts if she was lying about her grades.
Well, I guess I'll trust your insights. But what does this mean?
I don't know. Even with everything we found out, I'm still not sure who the real culprit is. At the very least, I think we should still try to pull Miriam onto the stand. If she testifies in court, I might be able to find something I can use. But that's a big maybe. If you don't play your cards right, you might spook the Fregas enough for them to pay off the judge.
Either way, it's getting late. We'll probably have to turn in soon.
Yeah. You just hope you did enough to acquit Wallace. Being able to read people's minds seems pretty convenient for a detective. Yeah, for sure. Though there's the wrinkle, right? Like, I can read people's minds, but I still need to prove it with evidence. Like, that can give me an inclination as where to head with my investigation and my case. But I've still got to prove it with, because my mind reading thing is a secret, and would be, I guess, would technically be hearsay regardless. But I've got to use like normal evidence to actually prove the case in court. So, anyways, would you like to save? Sure, why not? Court is now resumed for the trial of Wallace Nightgrave. Let us review the proceedings from yesterday. It was revealed that the trace of necromancy may have been left, not been left by the defendants, may have been left by a witness who used necromancy to attempt to heal the victim. However, the victim was seen by the witness as well after her time of death. This could only be explained by the defendant using necromancy to animate the victim's body. This leaves the question, where did the murder take place? Does the prosecution have an answer for this?
Based on the testimonies of several witnesses, it is very likely that the murder took place in the library.
Interesting. What led you to this conclusion, Miss Steelwind?
First, I'd like to remind the court where the victim was sighted before the body was found. It began when the victim had a meeting with the headmaster near the center of the building.
Our meeting was scheduled for 12 p.m. According to my schedule for that day, our meeting lasted for an hour.
This brings us to the statement of the next witness, a student at the academy. The student saw the victim walking in the hallways. I saw her coming out of the headmaster's office. She was heading towards the library. Good point, though. If they didn't know, you could probably trick them into thinking the location of the evidence. Possibly. You'd have to get pretty particular with how you led them to it, but there are certainly methods by which you could abuse such powers. Which means that our first witness saw Bella leave the headmaster's office. Presumably this would have happened after her meeting there. That would be the time of this encounter. That would time this encounter at around 1 p.m. The other event is the discovery of the body, which was when Valentina Iannis contacted security. I suddenly spotted the professor lying in a pool of blood in the classroom. Valentina used the communication device to call for help while I tried to save her. As we already established, this event occurred at 3:04 p.m. But the significance of this time is in what occurred before the body was discovered. The second witness, a member of the cleaning staff, spotted the victim in the west wing hallway.
Oh, I walked over this. There was dirt everywhere. So like 20 or 30 minutes, saw the twins on the body.
This means that the encounter must have happened no later than 2:30 p.m. And this implies that the victim was near the library between 1 p.m. and 2:30. According to the defendant's statements, he was in the library during this time period. Furthermore, the time of death was at 2:07 p.m. This means that Mr. Huell saw the victim's animated body.
Okay. An interesting timeline. I see. Your deductions certainly tracks, Miss Steelwind. But what do you have to say in your defense, Mr. Cuthbert? The prosecution's argument is definitely well thought out, Your Honor. However, it is entirely predicated on the testimonies of all the witnesses involved. Steelwind's deduction has to have a hole somewhere. And since your conversation yesterday, you've had a feeling that Miriam is hiding something. If you want to get to the truth, you'll need to drag that out of her through a cross-examination. Your Honor, to test the validity of these claims, the defense would like both of these witnesses to testify. The defense calls Miriam Frege to the stand. Frege! At the mention of her name, the judge's face turns a bit pale.
I had a feeling it would come to this.
Do you have an objection, Miss Steelwind?
I do not, Your Honor.
Very well. Bailiff, please escort Lady Frege to the stand.
Witness, please state your name and occupation for the... You little snakes! How dare you deceive me? Oh, it looks like she found out. I had the opportunity to debrief the witness beforehand. Miss McCall, for the record, I told you to exercise discretion. I do not mean that you should impersonate a member of my family. Yeah, sorry about that. I gave you all that tea that I imported from the Eastern Kingdoms? I demand that you return it to me. There's only a few methods by which that could happen, and I doubt any of them would be desirable to you. No, you gave them to me. They're legally mine now.
Not sure what your business with this witness is, Miss McCoy. But I ask that you please handle your personal disputes outside the courtroom. This is not small claims court. This is a serious court for serious crimes such as murder.
Anyway, Miriam, could you please testify to the court about your encounter with the victim? Very well. I was working on a research project in my dorm room when I decided to take a break. I left my room and went on a walk. That's when I saw Professor Bellwether exiting the headmaster's office. She was walking in my direction, so I greeted her, and she responded in kind. After that, she headed towards the library. A short time after that, I went back to my room and continued my work.
I see, so it was only a brief encounter.
However brief it was, the witness's testimony verifies two things. One is that Miss Frege saw the professor exiting the headmaster's office. The other is that she witnessed the victim heading towards the library. This gives us a rough timeline of where the victim was before her death.
That does seem consistent.
Did Bellwether really enter the library that day? You feel like you would have seen her there if she did.
Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination.
I was working on a research project in my dorm room when I decided to take a break.
Was this research project a part of your schoolwork?
It was an independent study to help develop a new conjuration spell formula. The project is being sponsored by the Crown Prince himself.
Scared and sad.
Huh. I wasn't aware that he was involved in such a study. Of course you wouldn't. You expect to know every aspect of his life, dear Alia? You sense a bit of aggression. You don't keep an eye on him. House Frege may steal him back from you.
Is he the one that she's engaged to?
As if His Highness would align himself with your rapacious family.
Our banking houses from the economic infrastructure of our kingdom?
But perhaps he'll come to the steel ones if he needs to clear a den of goblins.
With all due respect, may we please focus on the matter at hand?
Of course, Your Honor. I left my room and went on a walk. That's when I saw Professor Bellwether exiting the headmaster's office.
And you're sure that you saw her exit the headmaster's office?
Yes, I remembered clearly. I was surprised that she was still meeting with the headmaster at all.
She was talking about how they were plotting to replace him.
Did you interact with the professor at all, Miriam? She was walking in my direction, so I greeted her, and she responded in kind.
Did anything seem off about her?
No, but it was a very short encounter. It's not as if we stopped to have a conversation.
You said that you greeted her and she responded. What words did she use?
Why is that important?
Why is that scary? Miss Frege, it's possible that someone used illusion magic that day. Every detail of the victim's interactions could be important.
Well, I bid her good morning, and she said good morning in response. After that, she headed towards the library.
Did you see her enter the library?
I didn't, but there's not much else in that direction. From the testimony of John Hughes, we know that she later came from the library. Even if she didn't enter the library, she was still in that area for more than an hour. A short time after that, I went back to my room and continued my work.
How long did you leave your dorm room?
Only for a few minutes. I try not to let my breaks go for too long.
And you didn't see the professor again after your first encounter?
No, I did not. Her test seems pretty straightforward. But she could still be lying.
I'm honestly not sure. We'll just have to focus on her statements at how Bellwether acted. Okay. Compress this. Or is this already the... I'm not sure if this has changed or not. And you're certain that there was nothing seemed off about her? Yes, like I said, it was a very short encounter. Why'd you say that? It only happened over a few seconds. The witness's interactions are not what's important here. What matters is that she witnessed where the victim was coming from and where she went afterward. Fair. She responded in kind. I could do this. Okay, we'll try presenting the evidence of academic dishonesty. Are you sure she merely greeted you? Is there any chance she was confronting you about your academic dishonesty? Objection! Your Honor, it's clear that witness's testimony is contradictory. And this piece of evidence proves it. I fail to see that proves anything, Mr. Cuthbert. Oh, I guess you're right. Okay, we've pressed everything. What other evidence do we have? Got spells. What do we know about you? Not much. Catherine Bellwether. Let's look at the map. So, here's the headmaster's office. Library's this way. Hold on a moment. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. The dorms aren't particularly close to the headmaster's office, are they? I guess well, I mean, if you went on a walk, I guess it's conceivable we could have walked by the headmaster's office. Let's see, what do we have here? Catherine Bellwether had a tense relation with just about everyone in the academy. She had a history of bullying students from the common folk for several years. And we could present this of like everyone knows that Miss Bellwether wouldn't just, casually greet someone in the morning. She'd insult them first. Let's try. Nope. Your Honor, it's clear that this testimony is contradictory. And this piece of evidence proves it. Apparently it doesn't. Oh, I guess you're right. Could it have been an arcane construct, perhaps? Perchance? Objection! No? Okay, certain that nothing seemed off about her. Yes, it was a very short encounter. It only happened over a few seconds. How long did you leave? A few minutes. It seems pretty straightforward, but she could still be lying. I just have to focus on statements of how Bellwether acted. She was exiting. You surely saw her exit. Yep. Surprised she's meeting there. Did you interact with the professor at all, Miriam? What else do we have? Got Bellwether with his plan. Let's figure. I mean, like, this is obviously true. It's just, I don't think I have anything here that directly contradicts that she would have just casually greeted her. I guess we could ask, like, are you certain it wasn't someone with an illusory disguise? Right, have you considered this possibility? Objection! Your Honor, no. What am I supposed to be getting at here? She's heading towards the library. Like, if we look at the map, if you're heading towards the library from the headmaster's office, I mean, you could be going to the lecture halls too. Right, we can't necessarily. And then what's our next point in which she's cited? So, cited walking the hallways. I mean, she was cited in the library, so that's not really. I saw her in the library, so that's not really up for debate, is it? Like we're not proving that she didn't go to the library, because she clearly did. And she could have gone to the kitchen. I guess we could present the map and be like, look, there are other places she could have gone. She didn't necessarily go to the library immediately. Objection! Uh-huh. I don't know, her reputation? Objection! No? Yeah, this is kind of... See, the issue is, I honestly think she's mostly telling the truth. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be poking a hole in here. Take a break. Let's press on this again. Certain nothing seemed off about her. Yes. It was a very short encounter. Why did she say that? It only happened over a few seconds. Is there a... Did she say anything off? That didn't seem right.
Objection!
Like when John saw her. No? Okay. Nothing we can really prove is wrong. Yeah, seems pretty straightforward. Cafe room. Saw her exiting the headmaster's office. She's walking towards me, so I bid her good morning, and she responded in kind. I don't know, look at that map. You don't actually live near the headmaster's office.
Objection!
No? Like, what else is there? Data 201, body shows no signs of cuts or bruises. What is the plan? Maybe the plan is like she shouldn't have actually been going there? Because she's gonna replace him? I don't know. She didn't head towards the library. She actually just... Am I like a fool here? What do you think, Evil K? You got anything? Here. You're sure that you saw her exit the headmaster's office? Yes, I remember it clearly. I'm surprised that she was still meeting with the headmaster at all. Is this research project part of your schoolwork? Project has been sent to the Crown Prince. So you went back to your room and continued. How could you have been doing that when you're a fraud?
Objection!
Oh, okay. You bid her good morning. Wouldn't you have been talking out your plans?
Objection!
No? Am I missing a mechanic? Like, is there a mechanic in this game that I'm neglecting? Like, can I... Because I know... Like, can I do something with this when it pops up? I couldn't... Like, maybe? I don't know. Confirm, toggle on opposite, hide UI, show controls. Oh. It's gotta be this one, right? But what? It was about your position being such an important family.
Objection!
No? What am I getting at here? It couldn't have been an arcane construct? I think I already even did that. Okay, let's look at to all the evidence I have. I have an attorney. Constructs exist. The classroom solves bad. There's a map. Data 201. Was healed. Probably illusioned. Security happens. System is bad. When did this happen? Headmaster activated the Academy's lockdown system in response. Steering. I think that's related right now. That tense relationship with just about everyone. Also spells. 30 minutes before they found the body, Balder walked past John. I mean, that's not helpful. There's a construct in the locker room. The stain of blood in Miriam's locker. A rapier covered in blood. Maybe it's the plan? I tried the plan, though. I think on both relevant things. Maybe it's this. So Miriam Frege saw Bellwether walking in the hallways, and she said it's time in the library. But I mean, this lines up with the testimony as it currently stands. Wait a minute! Oh my goodness! How did I not notice this? I feel so stupid now. The witness testifies that she said good morning at 1 p.m. That's odd. There we go. Miss Frege, if I recall correctly, you have a habit of getting absorbed in your work. So much so that you even lose track of the time of day. Yes, what does that have to do with my testimony? Early in today's proceedings, the prosecutor made the following arguments.
Our first witness saw Bellwether leave the meeting with the headmaster. That would time this encounter around 1 p.m.
Miss Frege, if you had said good morning to the professor, you would have been mistaken. Because that encounter could have only happened during the afternoon!
And your point is? You said it yourself, Mr. Cuthbert. The witness simply lost track of time.
What the witness said isn't what's important here. The significance is in what the professor said in response. She had just come out of a meeting that was scheduled for noon. She would be well aware that it was no longer morning. So why would she respond, good morning? Wouldn't she have corrected the witness?
The encounter was extremely short, and the victim's mind may have been preoccupied. She could have easily responded to the witness without thinking.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I kind of agree with her. It's not hard to believe that they were both confused at the time.
Yeah, it's definitely a stretch. But you still can't shake the feeling that she's hiding something. Every time you ask her about how Bellwether acted that day, the eye picks something up. There has to be something there. Miss Frege, you haven't been entirely truthful into your testimony, have you?
That's absurd. What reason would I have to lie? Such a small detail. Why does he even care?
Every detail of how she acted is important, Miss Frege. What aren't you telling us?
Mr. Cuthbert, you have no basis to accuse this witness of perjury.
Yes, you will stop this at once. Miss Frege, you're lying at how Bellwether responded to your greeting, aren't you?
It doesn't make any difference at all. Because all she did was yell at me.
All she did was yell. Miss Frege, is it possible that Bellwether's response was less than friendly?
What do you care? What's the difference does it make? Why is he being so persistent?
My job is to make sure every part of your testimony is truthful. Every detail matters, no matter how seemingly insignificant. Mr. Cuthbert, you will stop this or I will find you in contempt. The professor yelled at you, didn't she, Miss Frege?
So what if she did? I mean...
I'm sorry, but there's no going back on what you just said. So, you do admit that she yelled at you.
You impertinent little... Yes, I admit it. The professor didn't greet me back that day. Oh, good morning, Professor. Be quiet. She yelled at me to be quiet. But until then, we had always been nothing but courteous with each other. I don't know what got into her that day, but something put her in a foul mood. But that's it. Everything else I said was the truth. They'll believe me, right? I did see her come out of the headmaster's office and walk towards the library. That part is true.
So she wasn't lying about that.
So that is all, Mr. Cuthbert?
What do you mean, is that all?
You badgered this witness so you could prove what exactly?
The witness committed perjury.
The witness changed a small detail of her testimony. A detail that is inconsequential to the case. It was clearly an act with no malicious intent.
After seeing her thoughts, it's hard to disagree with that. We're so sure that the eye would lead you somewhere. But Frege was only lying to save face.
The witness saw the victim leave the headmaster's office and head towards the library. Do you have any concrete evidence to refute that, Mr. Cuthbert?
No, I suppose I don't.
Wait, is this really okay? At this rate, this will be the only chance you have to cross-examine her.
I don't think she's lying anymore. I was really pushing my luck earlier. If I continue pressing her, the judge might actually charge her with contempt. But if Miriam isn't the one that's lying, then... The defense has no further questions for the witness, Miss Steeland. The prosecutor stays silent for a while. She almost looks disappointed.
Very well, Miriam, you are dismissed.
Huh. Miriam still looks like she's fuming, but she leaves the room without protest. The judge breathes a sigh of relief as the young noble is escorted out of the room.
Now with that out of the way, what else do you have, Mr. Cuthbert?
The only way to refute the prosecutor's theory is to cast doubt on one of the witnesses. If it wasn't Miriam, then... Still, to test your theory, you must question every witness that saw the victim that day. So that said, the defense would like to call Jan Hughes to the stand.
I hope you understand, Mr. Cuthbert. Your entire case rests on the assumption that one of the witness accounts is incorrect. If your cross-examination of Mr. Hughes leads nowhere, then I hope you're ready to concede.
Yeah, I'd like the sound of it, but she's right. Unless you can find something in Jan's testimony, you won't really have anything to disprove her theory.
Bailiff, please bring in Mr. Hughes. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the courtroom. Witness, name and occupation!
Right. I'm Jan Hughes. I'm the cleaning stuff that you gave me.
Mr. Hughes, please testify to the court about your encounter with the professor that day.
Sure. So the professor and I was cleaning the whistling hallways. It was about 20-30 minutes before the body was discovered. She looked by me, but she looked really out of it. I heard she was undead when this happened. Pretty creepy if you ask me. I showed an empty classroom. Well, that was straightforward.
Come on, Jan, what are we supposed to do with that?
You guys are lawyers. I'm just telling you what I saw. Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. So, first, everyone was cleaning the westwing hallway. It was about 30 minutes before the body was discovered. Yes, about that. How were you so sure that it was 30 minutes before? I checked the time to make sure I'm on schedule. I saw such cleaning hallways at 3 p.m. Right, the body was discovered at 3:04 p.m.
What was the professor like, Mr. Hughes?
Oh, guy, looked pretty out of us. Did anything else look off about her? Yeah, she was undead after all. That remains to be proven. Hey, there's Anyways, what was her demeanor like? Okay, she was in a bad mood. Yeah, she was tired. I guess she was just dead inside, literally. Alright, she was undead and this happened. Pretty creepy if you ask me. I believe you've forgotten a few details of what the process, about what the professor did. Sorry, I have to remember these things sometimes. Which details should you ask him for? Did she do anything to you? Did she touch anything? Did she make any sounds? Did you hear her make any sounds? Oh, yeah. As she knocked over the vase, she yelled at me to be quiet. I didn't even say anything. This detail could be extremely important. Please add it to your testimony, Mr. Hughes. I've seen it, man. I heard she was undead. It's pretty creepy, because she yelled at me. Okay, I don't want this. Thought I could press that, but that just lets me change the detail. Oops.
It's not giving us a lot to work with. He tends to leave out details unless we directly ask him about it.
I just need to ask him the right questions. Maybe we can pull more information out of him. Let's press the final phrase. I bet you went into the empty classroom. Did you see anyone else enter this classroom? So not sure. I was paying that much attention to her. Did think it was weird that she went in there. The funky smell. I can't think of why anyone would go in there willingly. Right, that headmaster's mistake put a rancid smell in that room. Okay, let me look at the details for some of the spells in question. So animate corpse. Reanimates the target using life energy, creating an undead minion for the duration. The minion follows caster's orders, but its intelligence is limited, and it cannot speak. The minion can end the spell prematurely, but will only do so if ordered to by the caster.
Objection!
Mr. Hughes, you said that Bellwether yelled at you? What were her exact words? I think she yelled at me to be quiet.
What?
That was weird. Didn't even say anything. I know better than just talk back to her. That's the thing, Hughes. The prosecution's theory is as such. The professor was murdered in the library and was reanimated using animate corpse. With a quick illusion spell, no one would notice that she was undead. However, if what you saw was truly the undead Bellwether, how did she speak to you?
This doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Hughes, undead can follow simple orders, but they don't have the intelligence to speak.
Perhaps the witness was mistaken.
I'm sure I heard her yell at me. I know, because what she said didn't make any sense. Exactly. He didn't say anything, but she still yelled at him to be quiet. Wait a minute. I'm afraid I don't understand. We've already established that the victim was dead long before her encounter with Mr. Hughes. But if what he saw wasn't an undead, what was it?
It had to be an undead. What other explanation is there?
It couldn't have been a major illusion. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to shove Jan out of the way or knock over the vase. Whatever it was, someone probably used illusory disguise so it could look like Bellwether. Does that mean it was a person? No, if it was a person, how did Bellwether's body end up in the lecture hall? Bellwether wouldn't have been able to turn herself invisible if she was dead. And whatever Jan saw, it needs to be something that could have transported Bellwether's body unseen. It would have also needed to have a mass and the ability to speak. What created Bellwether's voice? Or at the very least, it needed to be something that can recreate Bellwether's voice. What could have done this? I present to you Arcane Constructs. That's it!
Do you have an answer for us, Mr. Cuthbert? What did the witness actually see?
Your Honor, the witness didn't actually hear the dead victim speaking. What he actually heard was her voice being recreated using magic.
Are you trying to say that her voice was created using a spell?
Not a spell, Stewart. It was artificery. And whoever the murderer is, they had the perfect piece of artificery available to them. One programmed with Catherine Bellwether's voice.
You can't possibly mean...
That's right, Steelwind. What Mr. Hughes saw was an arcane construct.
An arcane construct?
Think of it as a magically animated suit of armor, Your Honor.
But we ruled out such a possibility, hadn't we? Construct or not, no one could disguise themselves and carry the body to the classroom.
A person wouldn't have been able to do it. But an arcane constructs are a thing entirely. Those suits of armor are extremely large, but more importantly, they're hollow.
I see. That means that theoretically someone could have placed the victim's body inside it.
The arcane construct wouldn't just transport the body. With an illusory disguise, it would also confuse and mislead anyone who saw it.
Objection!
Was it the headmaster?
I commend your dedication, Mr. Cuthbert. I would have never considered that possibility. It's certainly plausible, but what does this prove exactly?
It proves that the body wasn't animated using necromancy. My client isn't the murderer.
The defendant is still capable of performing all of the acts you described.
Is he? Does he have illusion magic?
His compendium contains illusory disguise, after all.
There were several students in the library that day. Any of them could have committed the murder.
One might come to that conclusion if they didn't have one crucial piece of evidence. I'd like to present a new piece of evidence to the court.
Is it the sword? From under her table, you see Miss Steele pull out the bloody rapier.
What is that?
Yes, Your Honor. This is the murder weapon.
She was saving that for the perfect moment, wasn't she?
This rapier was reported stolen by Miriam Schrager weeks before the murder. And during the investigation, it was finally found in the defendant's locker.
Wait!
He was clearly trying to use one of her possessions in a paltry attempt to frame her. Why, he even stole her locker's nameplate and placed it over his.
Damn it, that's not what happened.
But honestly, it sounds more plausible than what really took place.
We're basically back to square one, aren't we? Anyone could have just told that construct to do all those things.
Wait. Anyone? Is that really true? The construct transported the Preface's body, and someone used an illusion to make it look like her. They even used a pre-recorded voice to make the illusion more convincing. Who ordered the construct to hide the body? Could anyone have done that? Every command given to a construct is stored in its command log. However, the command log must be cleared regularly. Okay, the voice lines can only be changed or adjusted by the Academy Headmaster. Somehow I doubt Be Quiet is a standard voice log. It might be. Maybe. But it doesn't seem very useful. It's none of the... Yeah. Several memories flooded back to you. Mr. Hughes, you said that Bellwether yelled at you. What were her exact words?
I think she yelled at me to be quiet.
She yelled at me to be quiet. Until then, we had always been nothing but courteous to each other. I don't know what got into her that day, but something put her in a foul mood. Be quiet. Sorry. Be quiet. Eris begins giggling. She seems amused by what's happening. The construct's voice is just a series of pre-recorded messages. Not sure if you noticed, but it uses the voice of Professor Bellwether. Unfortunately, can't make them say anything other than what's recorded. Only the headmaster can change those settings. No, it can't be him. What is it, Tyrion? Did you figure something out? I did. But is he seriously the one behind all this? Miss Steelwind earlier said that my client could have orchestrated this entire ruse. But that's simply not true. How so? Anyone could have ordered the construct to carry out to the victim's body. Yes, but not everyone can change what the constructs are able to say. Only one individual has the credentials for that. Theodore Redmond, headmaster of the Imperial Academy. Wait, you're not serious, are you? You think the headmaster did all this? I don't want to believe it. But he's the only person who could have done it. That's completely ridiculous. Headmaster Redmond would never do something like this. Miss Steelwind, there's one common element between each of the witnesses' encounters with Miss Bellwether. It's what Bellwether said to them. She yelled at both of them to be quiet. Miriam Frego was particularly surprised. She had a good relationship with the professor. But when greeted by the professor, Bellwether just shouted at her. Almost as if the professor was responding indiscriminately. And recall her encounter with John Hughes. The professor knocked over a vase and shouted at him to be quiet immediately after, even though he hadn't said anything. She was responding to the sound of the vase breaking. Now let me ask you this, Steelwind. Where did Bellwether come from before she encountered Miss Frege and Mr. Hughes? Her meeting. With the headmaster.
It appears that the defense truly means to indict Theodore Redmond.
Well, I mean, technically the defense can't indict anyone, but yeah, I'm throwing shade his way.
If so, we have no choice but to take a brief recess until he can be brought here. There's no need. Fortunately for you, I'm already in the gallery.
The headmaster stood up from the gallery seats behind you and slowly walked onto the witness stand. Has he been here this entire time?
Now, please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Cuthbert. But do you think I am the one who committed this crime?
Sorry, Redmond. But no matter how I look at it, everything I've found points to you.
No, there's no need to apologize. In fact, I should commend you on the lengths that you're going to defend dear Wallace.
The court appreciates your understanding, Mr. Redmond.
Now then, to clear the air, I suppose I should give my testimony on what happened that day. That day, I had a meeting scheduled with the professor at noon. She showed up at the expected time, and we discussed various administrative matters. Our meeting went on for an hour, after which she left to prepare for her next class. Despite our many disagreements, we still knew how to be civil with one another. After all, I had no reason to bear a personal grudge against her.
I just can't see it. He seems like such a nice person. Is he really the person we're looking for?
He has to be. No one else could have orchestrated this entire plot. You just need to find out how. And why. I mean, I think we already know what this is. It's going to be, I had no grudge, right? And we just straight off the bat, we don't even need to cross-examination. Because of the plot. There's a ploy.
Objection!
Redmond, did you really hold no animosity toward Professor Bellwether?
Of course not. I did have strong opinions about her methods of teaching, but I always remained professional. We both did.
Frankly, I find that hard to believe. In fact, I think you might have had a very good reason to murder the professor. Considering that she was going to take your job. What?
So you knew about that?
I'm sorry, but I don't follow. Just how was the professor going to take the headmaster's job?
According to Miriam Frege, Catherine Bellwether was currying favor with the noble families. In fact, there was a plan to oust Mr. Redmond and appoint Bellwether as the new headmaster of the academy.
What? But in any case, I doubt the headmaster had any idea of this until now.
I'd like to remind the court of the witness's reaction just now. He said, "So you knew about that." His reaction was one of surprise. But he wasn't surprised by this information. He was surprised that I knew this information.
That's...
Please, dear Arya. I may be a frail old man, but I'm perfectly capable of defending myself.
If you have an explanation, Mr. Redmond, then by all means, I'd love to hear it.
Gladly.
Oh, he's angry now. His eyes are open.
It is true that I knew about the Frege's plot beforehand, but I had only just learned about it. On the day of the murder, the professor told me about her plan. She was going to replace me as headmaster and replace the staff with her arcane constructs. Now you might say that this would have given me the perfect motive to murder the professor. However, the supposed murder weapon was stolen from Miss Frege. This happened weeks before the murder, and my discovery of the professor's treachery. I had no knowledge of the plan before she told me, and therefore I wouldn't have known to steal Miss Frege's weapon in an attempt to frame her.
Are you satisfied now, Mr. Cuthbert? There's no way the headmaster could have come up with this plan. If he really did do this, that means he stole the rapier too, right?
Most likely.
Yes, that might make sense. He could have planned this whole thing, and he couldn't have planned this whole thing unless he knew about Bella's plans. That'd mean he knew about this weeks ago. But how did he even find out?
The best way to tell convincing lies is leave a lot of truths and only change one detail. Maybe Bellwether did tell him, but she actually told him weeks ago. The question is, how do you prove that?
Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. It is true that I knew about the Frege's plot beforehand, but I had only just learned about it.
So you only learned about it recently. Doesn't that seem a bit too convenient for you?
It may appear that way, yes. But on the day of the murder, the professor told me about her plan. She's going to replace me as headmaster and replace the staff with her arcane constructs.
That must have infuriated you. Your colleague betrayed you and attempted to steal your job?
I'm only human. Of course I was taken back. I've been headmaster of the Imperial Academy for decades. To think that the professor and the board would go around my back like that. Now you might say this would have given me the perfect motive to murder the professor.
Yes, I would. With the professor dead, you won't have to worry about you losing your job. At least not for a while.
I suppose you're correct, but there are others who benefit too. The faculty staff is now aware of Frege's plots. With their plot delayed, they won't need to worry about abruptly losing their jobs either.
But what happens if you prove that Redmond's the killer? He'll lose his job and House Frege will just appoint someone else. No, you can't think about that now. If you don't prove Redmond's guilt, the court will convict Wallace.
However, the supposed murder weapon was stolen from Miss Frege. This happened weeks before the murder.
As a headmaster, you'd probably have the tools available to get into her room.
Yes, I will admit that. The Academy has a master key that can be used to enter each of the students' dorms. And yes, as headmaster, I would have access to that key.
Then you had the perfect way to get into her room and steal the rapier undetected.
I suppose I did. However, there's one flaw with your logic. I had no knowledge of the plan before she told me, and therefore I wouldn't have known to steal Miss Frege's weapon in an attempt to frame her.
It was my understanding that the Fregas wanted to keep this a secret until the very end. Why would Bellwether, of all people, tell you about her betrayal?
I imagine she wanted to taunt me with that information. We've long had our disagreements, and looking back, she may have resented me for that. And at that point, there wasn't anything I could do to stop her.
Really? I thought you and the professor were on good terms.
I thought so too, but I suppose it was all a facade. She was just biding her time until she could take my position as headmaster.
He had to have known about Bellwether's betrayal weeks ago.
Right. The question is, how do we prove it?
Do you have something that proves he knew about it before the day of the murder?
We do, actually.
Whose statement is it? Academy lockdown. No. Was it from the twins?
Who did we learn that from? Because one of the staff knew. Okay, according to Jan. Okay, yeah. Bellwether. The plan was revealed weeks ago. There we go. Your Honor, it's clear that the witness's testimony is contradictory. And this piece of evidence proves it. Okay, that's definitely the right evidence. Wrong statement, I guess. Maybe only just... You didn't only just learn about it. You learned about it weeks ago. Okay. Okay, it wasn't on the day of the murder. It was weeks ago. There we go. Redmond, you keep saying that you didn't know about Bellwether's plot before yesterday. Do you still plan on standing behind that claim?
Of course I am, because it's the truth.
I'm sorry, Redmond, but you should really close your doors during your meetings.
What? Did someone see?
It is true that Bellwether revealed her plan to you during one of your meetings. In fact, John Hughes happened to overhear that same meeting. But he only overheard the part where the staff would be replaced. And that's the strangest part, Redmond. According to Mr. Hughes, this meeting occurred weeks ago.
You can't accuse the headmaster of perjury based on a rumor. Everything you've just said is based on second-hand information.
Mr. Hughes distinctly overheard that the staff would be replaced with arcane constructs. That is too specific and too accurate to assume that he misheard a different conversation.
The professor probably only revealed her plan for the arcane constructs. That still doesn't prove that he knew about her treachery beforehand.
Professor Bellwether had no authority over the cleaning staff's employment. It wouldn't make sense for her to just reveal her plan for the arcane constructs. That would only make sense if he knew that Bellwether would be taking his job. So tell me one thing, Redmond. Why did you find the need to lie about this? Is it because you saw a need to protect yourself from my accusations? Redmond, I asked you a question. Did you murder Catherine Bellwether?
What a fine mess this is. I'm not done. Not yet.
Headmaster?
So you truly plan on pushing this, are you?
Well, your thesis sounded promising, Mr. Cuthbert, but I believe your arguments could use a little work. You think I killed Catherine Bellwether? Me? I am an elderly man in his late 80s. I was alone and had nothing to overpower Bellwether with. I can barely walk, much less wield a rapier. Could use the construct. Yeah, you could have used the construct. But you and Bellwether weren't the only people in that room, were you? You needed the arcane construct to carry Bellwether's body. That means that the construct would have already been in your office. And with your privileges, you could have easily programmed the construct to stab Bellwether for you. Even so, think about what would have transpired afterward. Recall Miss Steelwind's timeline of Bellwether's witnesses. With your theory, the construct would have spent more than an hour in the library. Having it there would have risked my so-called ruse from being discovered. Luckily, Lady Frigga can't tell night from day. I wouldn't have the construct linger around the library. Logic. Use this against claims that contradict a piece of evidence. Use this against claims that contradict thoughts seen through the eye. Use this against claims that contradict the displayed emotion. Luckily, Lady Frigga can't tell night from day. It's gotta be intuition, right? The timing deduced from Miss Frigga's testimony is predicated on one thing. She saw Miss Bellwether exit your office after your meeting. However, if we assume that you're lying about when this meeting ended, your entire argument falls apart. Miss Frigga would have encountered Bellwether after her death at 2:01 p.m. Miss Frigga wouldn't have made a mistake like that. Miss Frigga thought it was morning when she saw Bellwether. She can't reliably tell the time. And what about the rapier? Where the rapier was placed? If I really was the murderer, then that would mean I planted the weapon in young Wallace's locker. Several of the students had lockers there that I had access to. I wouldn't have placed incriminating evidence in that locker. Wallace is one of my prized students. If I had to frame anyone, he would be the last person I chose. Indeed, except, there's a slight issue here, which is, the ID numbers were switched. You thought it was Frigga's. You're right, Mr. Redmond. You wouldn't try to frame Wallace. But you would try to frame Miriam Frigga. It would have been the perfect act of revenge, wouldn't it? You murder your treacherous coworker and frame the daughter of the family that helped her. But something went wrong, didn't it, Redmond? The labels on Wallace's locker and Miriam's locker were switched. Anyone who saw that would have easily mixed them up. I am the headmaster of the Imperial Academy. I have records of all the students' lockers and where they're located. There's no reason I would make a mistake like that. If I truly planned this, I would have known where Wallace's locker was. A simple change in labels wouldn't have led me to make a careless mistake like that. The construct in the locker room, though. You didn't put it there. The construct did. You just gave it the order to put it in the labeled place. But it wasn't you, was it? Your arcane construct was the one who planted the rapier in the yeah, I'm turning like French or something. Your arcane construct was the one who planted the rapier in the locker. I bet you commanded it to place this rapier in the locker of Miriam Frege. But it saw the ID number on Wallace's locker and assumed that it was Miriam's. This is... Redmond begins desperately stammering, looking for something to say. Still and say something! What? Mr. Cuthbert, your theory may be plausible, but there's no evidence to support it. Ha! That's right, you don't have any proof, do you? There's no evidence of my orders. Saying that I could have committed the murder isn't the same as proving I did it. There's no evidence of my orders. I don't think it's less. And is it the voice line? The evidence of academic dishonesty. Planted on the body. There'd be no purpose for that to be there. You would be the only one who would know. You'd be the only one who could forge that evidence if it's not even real. And it indicates Frege. No, that's not right. Never mind. Was there some sort of evidence that would track the orders given to him? Oh, you can track... Okay, yeah. Or where is it? Every command given to a construct is stored in its command log. However, this command log must be cleared regularly. What? Some sort of evidence that would track the orders given to him? Weeks ago, the headmaster performed an alchemy experiment. Could be the spell, or the foul classroom smell. He locked down the school. Now, wasn't there some evidence that would track the orders given to him? The Academy's lockdown is a system of artificer that covers the entire building. Once activated, it creates a magical barriers that isolate and protect each room of the building. These barriers can't be breached with physical magical force. They also block mages from teleporting through them. Maybe it's the foul classroom spell. No. I have to get this right. It's not the logic limitation, I don't think. Frego's planning. Do that. Data 201. No. There's no evidence of my orders. Maybe if we, maybe it's this construct. We say, let's look up this construct's order history. Your arcane construct is still in the locker room where it planted the rapier. All we have to do is take a look inside it and we'll see the blood inside. Is that so, Mr. Cuthbert? What? Why does he still look so confident? No, Mr. Cuthbert, I already checked the inside of that construct during my investigation. The interior was completely clean. What? The construct's primary function is to assist and clean, dear Tyrion. They have a function that allows them to clean themselves inside and out. Well, we can still look at its command history, right?
Think about it, Mr. Cuthbert. Do you honestly think that the murderer would leave behind evidence like that? I'm sure that whoever orchestrated this plot, they ordered the construct to wipe its logs when it was finished.
No. That's right, Mr. Cuthbert. Your case against me is theoretical at best. But I suppose I can give you marks for trying. Damn it, he thought of everything. Was he seriously able to get rid of all the evidence? No, surely the logs weren't... Yeah. You're running out of options, but you still have one tool left. It's becoming glare like that, young Tyrion.
He's doing it again.
Bring yourself back to that moment with Garrick Pierce. Think about what's at stake for Wallace, just like you did with Celeste. His life and his future are in your hands.
Naught can remain concealed.
Empowered Eye. You activate the Empowered Eye again. Redmond did a good job of covering his tracks. But there has to be something that he forgot to get rid of. What else the construct's logic limitations? The construct's orders were clear. Plant the body in lecture hall 2B. Then plant the evidence in Frigga's locker. We're supposed to head to the storage room afterward. What happened? Interesting. The construct wasn't supposed to be in the locker room. What? You know anything about this one? I wonder, did I leave any other piece of evidence behind? It's pretty reckless. But needs some way to keep that lecture. Needed someone to keep that lecture hall empty. Oh right, he must have botched the alchemy experiment on purpose to keep the lecture hall cleared. But that doesn't really tell you anything you can use right now. What are your actions? I had to do everything I could to shift guilt away from myself. I did leave any holes in my alibi. No, I accounted for everything. There's no way I left any evidence behind. What about the academic dishonesty? Did everything I could to cast out on Frigga's breath. I can't believe Valerie placed a trace of necromancy on the body. I think matters worse, the construct placed the evidence in the wrong locker. So he did send the construct to the locker room to plant the evidence. He must have also fabricated the documents that accused Frigga for cheating. It was all to make her look like the murderer. But this doesn't give you anything new to work with. I'll just check the location of the construct. Why is the construct in the locker room, though? It shouldn't have been there if it followed my orders. No matter, it wiped its logs. They have nothing on me. So he did order it to wipe its logs. In order to cover all of his tracks, it probably would have done this last. Wait. He ordered the construct to go to the storage room. It would have done that after it finished planting the evidence in the locker room. But we found it in the locker room. What stopped the construct from leaving the locker room? What did stop it? I guess its orders were made... Oh! The lockdown system! It got locked in there, therefore it couldn't complete its orders, therefore it just shut down. Right, the body was probably reported earlier than Redmond expected. This means he probably started the lockdown before the construct was finished in the locker room. How did the lockdown affect the construct's actions? But does this change anything? Redmond's series of commands. No. Wallace's, Frega's, Bellwether's. Scotty, Redmond's series of commands was destroyed? Interrupted by the lockdown. Right, the series of commands would have been interrupted. Wait a minute. Constructs execute a series of commands in the order they're given. But let's say one of those tasks is impossible to complete. When a construct gets a task, it will deem the entire series impossible to complete. As a result, it will stop executing the series altogether. So if a task in a series of commands is impossible, then that command will interrupt the entire series. The construct's final command was to wipe its memory. But if its orders were interrupted by the lockdown, then... Miss Steelwind, I have nothing more to ask this witness. What? You're not giving up, are you? Do you even have to ask? Yeah, I thought so. But how are you going to prove he did it if he's not testifying? Don't worry. The next witness's testimony will be all I need. Next witness? That look on your face isn't one of defeat. Just what are you planning? Something of desperate bravado. No, if you'll excuse me. You let your quarry get away, Mr. Cuthbert. Hope you know what you're doing. I do, Miss Steelwind. First, I'd like for the Inquisition to bring the Arcane construct in the Academy's locker room. We've already established that the murder could have wiped its history. Please, just humor me out for a second, Miss Steelwind. Very well. Bailiff, please relay Mr. Cuthbert's request to come and fight. Well, here's your construct. I hope you know what you're doing, Mr. Cuthbert. Construct! What are your orders? Please recite your command history. Reporting. Command 1, standby in Headmaster's office. Command 2, 08 vocal signal, attack from Theodore Redmond. You hear Redmond stand up from the gallery. Seeing this, the prosecutor watches him and carefully clutches the handle of her cane. Command 3, treat Catherine Bellwether as a hostile entity and neutralize. Construct, wipe your... Hold! Before he can finish his sentence, the prosecutor points her cane at the headmaster. Magical energy shoots from it and collides directly with him. Magic wreathes around his body and stops him from moving. He's clearly trying to struggle against it, but it looks like he can't even move his mouth. Miss Steelwind! Excuse the interruption, please continue. Command 4, 08 vocal signal, leave from Theodore Redmond. Command 5, move to classroom 2B, reply to any inquiries with voice line number 3. Command 6, remove Catherine Bellwether from interior frame and place on floor. Thank you, Construct. You can stop now. I think we all know the rest. But just to be clear, who gave you this series of commands? Commands were provided by Headmaster Theodore Redmond. Oh! What did the Construct wipe its command history? Mr. Redmond, constructs don't follow the same logic that humans do. They're prone to error when their commands are impossible to execute. Impossible? In what way were my commands impossible? You were the one that made it impossible. You activated the lockdown system. The lockdown? The body was found earlier than you'd like. You had no choice but to immediately activate the lockdown system when it was reported. However, the construct was still in the locker room when you did this. So that's why it was there. The construct finished its tasks in the locker room, but then it tried to follow your next command. It tried to move to the storage room, but it was prevented from doing so. Completion of that command was impossible. So, the series of commands was stopped before it wiped its history. You little... Theodore Redmond, you ordered your construct to murder Catherine Bellwether. Then you had to place the murder weapon in a locker to frame Miriam Frege. And we have your construct's testimony to prove it. And that's checkmate.
I can't believe it. How could you do something like this, Headmaster?
She was going to take everything away from me. My position, my academy, my students. Everything would be gone. It would be stolen by her and the Fregas.
Why didn't you say anything to me? I could have...
Don't you dare stand there and act ignorantly, student. Do you think the Fregas acted alone? Your father was a part of this plot too!
What?
I have nothing to say to you. I thought you were different. I listened to your lies with societal reform. And you were just like the rest of the aristocracy. With a scared lord, what have I done? I was even willing to sacrifice poor Wallace. I can't believe Why did I do this? It appears we have a full confession. The court sees no reason to prolong this any further. Bailiff, please escort the witnesses to a holding cell.
Mr. Cuthbert, you really did it.
It feels amazing, right? Like a big weight being lifted from your shoulders.
It does, but I can't believe the headmaster was the one who did this.
Right. Despite everything Redmond did, he was the one that allowed Wallace to pursue his dreams. I'm sorry. I'm sure this is bittersweet for you.
What am I going to do now? Headmaster Redmond was the only reason I could even attend the academy. With him gone.
Come on, don't think like that. You got acquitted. I'm sure it'll all work out. You want to agree, but necromancy is basically taboo. Without Redmond's support, there aren't many places he could learn it legitimately. And then there's the Imperial Academy. Hey, don't you get all sad on me too. Sorry, I was just thinking. With Redmond gone, the Fregas will probably just appoint another sycophant as the headmaster. Valentina, Valerie, and John, they're gonna lose their jobs. Come on, you found the truth, and you put a murder behind bars. You saved Wallace! She's right. As you start to exit the courtroom, you're greeted by Miss Tamora. Was she in the gallery this entire time? At the end of the day, you saved Wallace from a wrongful conviction. You should be proud of yourself for that. I suppose you're right. Maybe I am just overthinking things. But the doubt still lingers in your mind. Hey, come on, I'm taking Wallace to that restaurant we went to last time. Do you remember how much that place cost? Don't worry, I have plenty of gold. Am I the only one on this team not making any gold? Why don't you meet us there, Celeste? I need to talk with Tyrion for a moment. Alright. Let's go, Wallace.
Oh, okay.
You activated the Empowered Eye again, didn't you? She doesn't appear to be praising you. I did. Didn't really have a choice. Eye of Horus is a powerful tool, Tyrion. But that's twice now that you've used the Empowered Eye to get out of a tough spot. You can't keep relying on it if you want to grow as an attorney. One day you'll find a witness that the Empowered Eye won't work on. It's worked for me this far, though. But I suppose you're right. I'll try to rely on it less next time. And that marked the end of another case in my career as a defense attorney. Another life saved, did another murderer brought to justice. But I still couldn't shake this feeling of uneasiness. Was it guilt for what would happen to the faculty staff? Or was it something else? Episode end. There we go. We did it. Surprisingly, it was not Eris that was the murderer, despite being by far the creepiest person in the cast from that episode. Man, Steeland has been talking with the perp for hours. What's there to even ask at this point?
Turns out she doesn't trust his testimony. Something about his memories not matching up with the crime scene.
I don't think he has a maid blight, does he?
No, it's not that. She found that damned symbol etched into his desk. What did she call it? The purple mark.
Ah, for the love of not this again.
Look, if the little lady wants to chase the boogeyman, just let her. At least this time she's doing it personally instead of dragging us into it.
Cast sleep.
Hey! What's up with...
Who did this to a desk?
What's gotten into you? I've already admitted everything. What more could you possibly want from me?
Where did this graffiti come from? What is this symbol? What is the purple mask?
I don't know. A student must have done it at some point.
Think very hard, Headmaster. When did you receive this purple symbol? Focus on the moment you received this.
Wait a minute. I remember it now. But how? Lady Steelwind! Lady Steelwind! Hurry up! What happened? You okay?
That was close.
I guess Eris is probably going to be our overarching villain, I imagine.
My elation over meeting him almost made me forget.
Eris, what are you doing here? Why? Wait, I remember now. It was you. You put those ideas into my mind. You were the one who told me to murder Bellwether.
Oh. You humans never fail to amuse me. I didn't make you do anything. Everything you did that day, all the planning, all the preparation, that came from your own mind. And I have to say, I was quite entertained with the scheme you came up with. Why, you even broke into Miriam's room. I know you had it, didn't you, old man?
You made me forget about our conversation. But how? Illusions can't affect the mind. Magic can't affect the mind.
It's a shame, though. I'd have much rather turned Wallace into the antagonist of this chapter.
Chapter. Specifically citing chapter. The actual, meta divisions of the game. Is this secretly a super meta game that we're diving into?
Could you imagine if he turned? It would have been spectacular. Armies of undead running rampant in the streets. But alas, even I couldn't corrupt his pure soul.
Answer me, who are you? What are you?
Who am I? I'm the Lord of the Sixth Circle.
Ah!
Well then. Well, that was chapter 2. That is also where we're going to end the things for today. Thank you for joining me. How many chapters are there in this game? So 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 3 more chapters left. So I guess it seems that each chapter is like around 6 hours, which is kind of an awkward time for me, because 3 hours is a bit short for a stream, 6 is a bit long, but yeah, doing the half chapters on any given stream has worked pretty well so far. But anyways, yeah, thanks for joining me here. We'll be doing some more Tyrion Cuthbert soonish, probably. Maybe not necessarily next week, because I might want to do some Imeo instead, but it'll be in the rotation for sure. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, well, thanks for tuning in, Mr. Humbuck. And yeah. And I guess before I go, I'll remind you, if you look at the bottom right of your screen there, we got plushies now. Plushies. Specifically an Evil Key plushie. So if you want one of these guys for your very own life, and imagine how much more fulfilled you'd be if you had some of these in your life. Then we got links. There's a link in the Twitch and YouTube pinned chat area. So if you are inclined to get some merch, a cool little Evil Key, my personal nemesis, then go ahead. But anyways, until next time, I've been CMeeCraft. I'll catch you in the next stream or video. Goodbye.